Well, greetings again, fifth graders. Mr. Greenfield here again. I just want to review last week's science lesson. You went into FOSS and you watched a video on weathering and erosion, and you also did a tutorial on that. I just want to review some of the things. I have a rock here, and as you can see with this rock, where it might be hard to see in the camera, but there's actually some rust colors in here. And as you can see, you might be thinking from last week of, well, those different colors, Mr. Greenfield, are caused by a chemical reaction in the rock. And you'd be right. That is a form of weathering. Or I have another rock here. If I can hold that up to the screen, you can see the cracks in that rock. One of the things you talked about in that video was how water can seep into these cracks, and over time it'll freeze and thaw and make those cracks wider, and eventually the rock will break off into smaller chunks, or smaller pieces like this might even break off into smaller debris. So weathering in a nutshell is just breaking down of rock into smaller pieces. How that's different from erosion is taking those smaller pieces and carrying them away to a new location. Some of the agents of erosion that might do that: strong winds. We've all been outside on the playground on a windy day when all of a sudden you get all that sand and grit in your face from the wind. Wind would be an agent of erosion. It was taking those small particles and blowing them to a new location. Also water. You've been out in your yard before after a heavy rainfall and see all those tracks through the soil where it's washed away and put it in a new location. Or ice can do that in the form of glaciers. Or as you see, maybe a sidewalk where after a winter the cracks have gotten larger and broken up. Ice has a tendency to do that as well. So that's just, in a nutshell, weathering and erosion. I want you to watch the video below this, and that will take us through the benchmarks of our standards for the state of Minnesota for science for this week, and it'll give you information on this week's lessons.